Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Time Delight. I am joined once again by Viking. However, I'm not Los. How you doing?
Really friggin' excited. This is probably the one matchup that when I looked at our calendar for this split, I circled it and then circled it again because these are two of the best teams in this league. And the last time that these two Titans came to pass, we saw one banger of a match, and I expect nothing less as we go through tonight's matchup. So, in a word, jazzed, super jazzed.
Jazzed. I gotta say, I think that's a new one. Now, these players are knifing. You can hear it. I can hear it. The stream can't. That means I set up my audio properly. But we're about to get things underway, and I want to question who do you think's going to take this? Because I know the teams under us are not correct. That will be fixed by the time you come back to us after this next game. But who do you think's going to take this one?
So far, I have to give the edge to Colorado. I mean, we saw a little bit of a scare last week when they were playing Marist on Inferno. Marist being a little bit more on the mid-tier team, currently in fifth place, and have stayed there since the end of last split. But Colorado, just through pure force of will, ultimately made that what they wanted it to be. But at the same time, DePaul has continued to put up great numbers and great offense. So certainly creating a pretty significant case for themselves right now is Colorado on that CT side,
Oh,
doing an excellent job of shutting down the DePaul aggression.
especially with Aratoshi boosted up over top of the sandbags and taking some clear control over towards the B side. It's down to Squaw in a 1 versus 5. He won't even get damage, much less a kill. DePaul University will not take round 1 because when I hit reverse sides, they didn't reverse. It is University of Colorado to take round number. Is it gonna switch? All right. Lexigrine's messed up, but TLDR, Colorado's on defense.
So we'll keep that in mind as we keep calling. Don't let your eyes fool you. And coming out of it right again, we see lots of utility on the side of Colorado, plenty of rifles alongside with the MP9s. They are not looking to give any quarter to DePaul whatsoever. DePaul, on the other hand, has decided to opt entirely for pistols, with the exception of a Deagle. Ultimately able to take down Fancy Lad is Yif. Breezy going to go down to RC to close out a very quick and decisive round for Colorado. And as we now have sides fixed, everyone can be on the same page as we get it all together. But Colorado's got to feel pretty confident in their opening rounds.
This is just a quick note for post-production me. Refresh the browser source. That's all it comes down to. It was just a little bit of a tech issue, but we're back underway and we're into things. Now, finally, a gun round. It is a little bit favoring DePaul, at least in terms of raw firepower, for the sole factor that University of Colorado want to bonus this one out. The goal is to take clear control, both in terms of economy and in terms of round count. One, of course, helping the other. But I still think they can pull this one off. Jig Jester has that MP9, as does Aratoshi. RC with the lowered AR, but an AR nonetheless, in the FAMAS, while DB Cozy and Fancy Lad both wielding those M4A1Ss. This seems like more of a default from DePaul, and you could see University of Colorado does not want to try and overextend here for obvious reasons. They don't have the firepower to do so.
Yeah, they're leaving. Oh man, the timing on that, just a perfect pincer move from DePaul is ultimately going to see Aratoshi go down and that water control go over to DePaul. So now with one player down on either side, Fancy Lad is going to take advantage back over
Ooh.
to Colorado. Squaw able to answer immediately back onto Jake Jester, and the game is on as they move quickly into A site.
They don't know about the flank. Oh, no, they don't clear Fancy Lad, who had full bathrooms control the entire time. He's being swung on through the brackets, but no, he's counting the flank. In comes this push. He will swing on Breezy, who does not know about his position. He pushes forward and gets a free kill. It's down to the 2 versus 2. DB Cozy will finally make his way over towards that A side. As you can see, Fancy Lad over towards the long position, trying to gain some control over there. Will get the kill as well. Up to now 4 kills, on for the ace. But Chris, on 13 health, the only person standing in his way. Very little utility on this T side as Chris is left alone. And unfortunately, with very little HP, it's going to be extremely difficult to pull this one off. Molotov towards that flower position, but it's not going to hit. That will drop in front. Do they stick this? The answer is probably no. Fancy Lad locking down the angle, but looks away at the worst time. DB Cozy will steal away his ace, and without a kit, it looks like DePaul will pull it off. There's no time. DePaul University will put 1 round on the board.
That was such a huge misplay from Colorado there. If they had just stayed on the bomb, but it seemed like they maybe got caught up in the body or the guns or something. just temporarily tap the bomb before going on, and that ultimately cost them the defuse. So an excellent job from Chris, as you pointed down, basically being down to no HP, getting that first kill, making sure that it was an uncomfortable position, and ultimately, I guess, just offsetting the mental just enough to get that first round on the board for DePaul. And now we're in a position where we get to, see if DePaul can carry this momentum, or if Colorado is going to see that as a personal attack on their own side and go back. But Fancy Lad ultimately falling down to Breezy in the first couple, in the opening moments of this round, is going to put this in favor of DePaul.
Clean nade in through towards Breezy, who's already dropped to 24 health. DePaul University looking a little bit worse for wear in terms of HP and now in terms of players. It's down to a 4 versus 4. Breezy still at 24 health, but University of Colorado tying things up, and Chris says, well, I'm going to pick up right where I left off with some frags. Now DePaul really taking a clear advantage, and I gotta question, what the heck are the University of Colorado doing? In all fairness, this is not their map pick. Inferno is where they look, at least statistically, to be the most prevalent here in the EGF, but they need to show up here, especially on the CT side of Overpass.
Agreed. This is one of the main deciding factors that we saw in the first time that we saw them together, was how well they performed on their individual map choices. Jig Jester able to take out 2 on both the Demigod and Chris. RC following up to take out Squad, and suddenly the number advantage is strongly in favor of Colorado.
Ooh. At 2 kills for Jig Jester, 3 for RC. A full house of frags for the University of Colorado, finally picking up where they left off just last week. And finally getting a convenient round, one where DePaul University are broke off the back end of it. You could see maximum buy here, Deagle, P250, a flashbang. That's all to write home about, not another dollar spent. It's not a great buy, to say the least. They need to do something here in order to break the bank of the University of Colorado, who really already have their bank broken. There's a nice nade. It doesn't do as much damage as you would think, but RC doesn't really care and pushes anyway. Oh no. Shots missed on the side, and RC is going to be able to make it out of there for free, possibly even get a kill off of it. But Fancy Lad from above, looking down, there's one, but Breezy from behind gets the kill. RC flips on him, but it's now the trade back and forth. Zips up the kill feed as DePaul try and take this A-side control. Nobody's here, and the bomb is poised to go down.
Such an excellent execution of a pincer move coming up from those 2 positions, but Aratoshi very quickly trying to bring that back, but it just gets a little overzealous with that spray, and now it's just down to a 2v1. Cozy able to clear that out, and more importantly, able to get that taken care of before they get the bomb down, so no extra cash going over the side of DePaul, and Colorado starting to build a nice little cushion early in this first map.
Only 2 players staying alive, though, so it's not a great cushion in terms of economy. Yeah, rounds are pretty good, but you need to be able to have the money to back up your ill-gotten gains, those, of course, being rounds here. And I got a question if they can continue to pull this off, because they're not going to have money forever if they continue to lose 3 or 4 players per round, even if they win those rounds. Viking, I gotta point out here, can the University of Colorado keep this up?
They seem to keep finding miracles in the most difficult of situations. So I imagine even as they get down to lesser hardware, if it comes to that, they're just going to find some way. But Jig Jester able to take out both Chris and Breezy from that boost spot is going to punish the early aggression into water. Squat able to answer that immediately onto RC from the party position. They're going to go back for the bomb, and now in this 4v3, we're just starting to wonder exactly what you just asked, is if that's going to happen, right? If Colorado can come in this 4 out of 3 right now, if Cozy can just close this out, awesome. But if they go down to a 1v1 or a 1v2, even in favor of Colorado, they're going to end up in a poor position just because of the more expensive items on the side of the CTs.
That's the one reason that a lot of the times you're going to favor the T sides in some of these closer engagements. They're not going to clear Cozy, though. Cozy's going to get a free kill. Will he get a second, though? He's going to have to swing on Squaw, who will get the frag back the other way. The 1-for-1 trade, but do they account for Jig Jester? Nade goes in. Squaw takes a little bit of damage, but will continue to push off of it. The peek over top, though. Jig Jester in a perfect position to deal with Squaw does just that. And it's down to a Demigod in a 1 versus 3. Shots coming through. Aratoshi does not fall, will get the frag, and will keep the money well endowed here on the University of Colorado side. They extend their lead and extend their economical prowess, finally looking strong here on the CT side.
Doing exactly what you said that they needed to, keeping as many rifles as possible, starting to spread out those dollars. You still see a little bit of a low income or a low cash bank on the Cozy Jig Gesture and RC side, but not the end of the world. It's something that, again, with just continuing to build up these momentums, now that they are completely eliminated their loss bonus, are just going to have to keep holding on to those. And this is a great round to do it. DePaul on all Deagles is going to make, or sorry, except for the 1P250, of course, this is the one that gets the opening frag onto Fancy Lad, can still cause some significant damage. So Colorado's got to be careful not to come through this round with too many frags going towards their team.
Especially with just a weaker buy. This is how you build back an economy and how DePaul can bring things back. Shots missed, though, by Breezy. He didn't hit a single one. I just want to point that out really quick. And, well, with that, they will back up, but straight into the hands of Artoshi, who does get 2 on the back line. It is down to a 1 versus 2. This is finally DePaul trying to take control, but the question now is, can Breezy finish things off? Cozy, not aware of the long position, will get flanked. Oh, no. He should die here, unless he swings. Oh, no! Breezy doesn't see him. Breezy does not see him. Finally does and gets the kill. Jig Jester now in a 1 versus 1. This is how DePaul can bring things back with an economy-based win and a full save win at that. Jig Jester peeking up. Doesn't realize it, but whoa, no! He doesn't get the frag! Breezy somehow makes it out of there alive. Jig Jester, what are you doing? It's down to a 1 versus 1. Breezy pops the DPI just to spin in circles and stays alive doing so. But Jig Jester around the truck, back and forth, around the dice. Can he roll the dice? He has to gamble on a swing. Breezy runs away and gets into the corner. Jig Jester, not aware of it, seems to be swings. Doesn't see him, though. Smoke will be dropped on the bomb. He has a kit and does have a flash. Will it be dropped? Yes, it will. It doesn't get far enough, though. Can he stick it? No, he cannot. Breezy clutches it out, a 4K on the round, and DePaul bringing things back in a round they shouldn't have had any business winning.
It's those Deagles, they can create such crazy moments. And, you know, we saw Wizard in the previous round for Sienna doing some serious damage with the P250, which was that opening kill onto Fancy Lad in bathrooms. And then it was just kind of poor positioning on the side of Colorado in that bathrooms, allowing themselves to get swarmed and ultimately lose the rifles that, put it in Breezy's hands and ultimately gave him the weapons that he needed to complete that. So in order to avoid that, holy cow, Breezy with a double nade is going to make that bomb site almost wide open, but Cozy at least able to take 1, get a little bit of a, we'll say a compensation gift for their efforts. But DePaul up 4-2 right now is going to seemingly walk away pretty decisively with their 3rd round of this map.
Yeah, especially without any armor on that side of the University of Colorado. Even with armor, they would have died. Perfectly placed nades and perfectly designed on that T side, reading what the University of Colorado has done already twice, if not more than that, in this half. And there's a swing from Squaw, just to clear out Fancy Lad and RC. It will be another DePaul round, and this is why they chose this map. They know what they want to do. They have the ability to do it with or without rifles against rifles, or just against the pistols we saw. It helps a little bit when your opponents have very little, and they're going to have very little again. DB Cozy and Jig Jester both buying Deagle armor, everybody else with just a Deagle. DePaul in yet another good position here on the T side of Overpass, and they're just going to push off of it. It will be a full B rush. The old matchmaking strat, rush B, don't stop, and they're not. They are not stopping, holding W through. Jig Jester is seen through that one-way smoke, but Aratoshi gets 1 over the top. The 2-for-1 trade, though, is now the 3. It will just fall in the favor of DePaul. The question is, can they continue to build off of this? And, well, the answer, very, very convincingly, yes. That's another DePaul round. They're within 1.
Not a lot of return on investment for the Deagles and the armor that we saw the purchasing from Colorado. 2 is good, but not great, especially as you can see that didn't really make much of a dent in the bank accounts of the terrorist side. So Colorado back to weapons are going to see what they can do to slow down the building momentum of DePaul. And if they're able to lock this down here, build a couple more rounds, then they're going to come out of the CT side feeling pretty good about their positioning in the second half.
University of Colorado finally getting an opening kill and working to build off of that. Yif will drop. Oh, it's a team weapon over. I was like, what the heck is he doing? No, it's just an AK he didn't want the University of Colorado to have in their hands, and understandably so. A little bit of a due diligence on the T side that we don't always see, especially at the collegiate level. I think we're missing a lot of that. And that's really what separates these two teams from the rest of the pack. We've seen it through and through this season, from the fall to the spring splits. Now, can each of them build off of it? That's the real question, and I know I've been asking a lot of questions today, but it is collegiate, so why not get them answered? It seems like Fancy Lad wants to just take everybody's heads off and does just that, but will fall just as quickly. RC, though, just swings and gets one. Can he get a second? No! Breezy will shut him down. It's down to a 3 versus 2. This is costing the University of Colorado. Jig Jester flashed off, has to peek, has to swing, gets the bomb planter. Can he get the second? He gets the spray transfer. DePaul don't even get plant money. They don't get the round. University of Colorado back in front with a 2-round lead and with a decisive swing as well. Jig Jester puts him there.
We seem to be seeing almost like a Jekyll and Hyde of University of Colorado here, where in some rounds like that last one, they're really confident in their execution. They're landing their shots. They're coming around and saying, like, you don't even deserve to be in the same server as us. But in alternate rounds, they seem to be very cautious and timid as DePaul runs over them. And that's really been the difference between the 6 rounds that Colorado has won and the 4 that DePaul has. So it really comes down to making sure that they continue that, because Colorado generally pretty consistent. Although, again, going back to last week in the match against Marathon and Inferno, we have seen that there are weaknesses there. The same can be said from from DePaul, excuse me. But right now, it's really a matter of who's able to do that. And Fancy Lad, just a pixel above the rock for squat, loses his head, and we're seeing 1-for-1 trades go out as we're just a couple minutes within the first minute of this round.
Chris trying to build off of this, though. Oh, DB Cozy goes unchecked, sitting on top of the grates, and that's how you play camouflage in the backline. Sometimes people just don't check the angle, and it costs them their lives. The University of Colorado now in a 3 versus 1, again starting to build some economy, but it's still a demigod who hasn't shown up much in this map. 1-8 so far through 10 rounds of play, now into our 11th. But if you're going to pop off, now is as good a time as ever. Fancy Lad giving away some sound cues and needs to do something here on the T side. A demigod starting to gain some ground in towards that bathroom position. You can see just making his way forward. Needs to build off of this. Does he see him? In comes this swing. I don't know if he will. Behind the truck. Pixel angles, the op is behind it. He's not going to swing. Oh no, he will. What is he doing? He's going to plant the bomb and die. No way. No way. He plants the bomb for free? What? How does he even get the bomb plant off there? What?
Fancy must have assumed that it was a fake, because I assume he probably thought like we did. Surely this person's not on the site and isn't aware of the fact that I'm also here. So a very confusing moment out of DePaul in Colorado in those last few seconds. But I mean, take what you can get, right? You know, the extra cash for DePaul is going to help them invest a little heavier into this round. Even though we're still largely seeing Galil's, we do see the SG for the first time. So maybe that's going to be the turn of fortunes for DePaul to string together more of these rounds. But Colorado, again, kind of an interesting situation to end that last round with.
He just shot his teammate in the back of the head. Chris
who
just
hasn't done that once in a while.
That's fair. I was on broadcast on Wednesday. The theme of the day was just team damage and team kills. It was an unfortunate theme, but it happened nonetheless. And, well, it looks like DePaul are picking up right where they left off back on Wednesday, but trying to build off of it nonetheless. Nade over top, that should do a decent bit of damage. It does. Oh my goodness, squad out of 21 health. This is a bomb plant in a 5 versus 5. The retake will come in. It's going to be delayed. There is a flank coming around. Jig Jester with that M4 in hand should swing here, but will die from that close range. Fancy Lad with a second, though, as he swings through the bank position. It is the University of Colorado, a very one-dimensional retake, but sometimes that's all you need. Chris and Breezy in this 2 versus 4. Nade over top towards Breezy, but Chris from the side needs to swing this, needs to get some damage. Aratoshi looks to defuse this and looks to stick it. He will as well. Chris will fall. The University of Colorado onto 8, solidifying both a 4-round lead and the half win in the end.
Ultimately, the best way for Colorado to win is to just keep racking up those, as you would expect. A little bit nervous there because we saw RC seemingly either aware of Breezy's presence at long there and deciding not to care, or just being kind of oblivious to what's going on around him, which made me a little bit nervous for the execution. But Colorado able to just overcome with sheer numbers, getting very aggressive. RIC taking out 2, going for a 3rd, ultimately falling to a demigod who's going to push up with his teammates, trying to take that fountain control and re-aggress onto that A site.
Aratoshi with some rotating utility, just trying to prevent DePaul from gaining a lot of ground before the rest of the team gets there. And this is smart and proactive from the University of Colorado. That's the main reason they have a lot of this control that they're so easily afforded from DePaul. It's because DePaul has to respect it. Chris giving away some sound cues, but nobody's here. And the University of Colorado just waiting for this push. There's no reason for them to get aggressive here.
And it's smart by DePaul to just slow down a little bit, take a breath. Obviously, losing people so early in the round has a lot of potential to set you up for a little bit of a tilt, and certainly puts you at a disadvantage. So now they get to resettle, look for some of the picks that Colorado may or may not give them. They, again, have had some kind of odd, careless moments, just like Fancy Lad right there, just giving a few too many extra pixels to a demigod, and we see the A site coming on. Aratoshi takes out 2, but falls to Chris, who now controls the bomb site. Although it's fallen off, and now Jake Jester with the flank just closes that out, and here's a 9th round for Colorado.
The University of Colorado continually extending their lead, and this time not keeping that many players alive, but there's only 2 rounds left in a half. They will have enough money to buy in both this and the following of those 2. DePaul, not so much. I'm looking at the cash they have, and there's not a lot of it. You can see very sparse in terms of economy. This is certainly not Switzerland, as the North American countries not doing great. But Yif goes down to a Mac 10. Chris with a Glock. Surely there's going to be a deagle by there. But what are they doing here? They're not going to have a lot of money going into the next round. Yif will have at most $3,800, now $3,600, barring any SMG kills. Squaw will be up to 34. Finally, you're seeing the buy-in, but Chris goes down to a P250. I'm assuming we're going to see something in the next round, no matter what, because, yeah, they'll have that loss bonus, or they'll win the round, but I can't say this is the smartest decision I've seen today.
They're kind of going for that YOLO mentality, right? It's like, well, we know that we're in a position where obviously we're down at the half no matter what, so let's try to get whatever we can out of it. And I think that they've shown with some of the aggression that they've had in previous rounds that if they really do go hard on it, that they can kind of catch Colorado out. And that's what they're attempting to here. But Aratoshi needs the spray down, takes the first. Lots of kills being traded on either side as DePaul takes the site.
Jig Jester from the side, though, with that trade back. You could see the up from above was really taken out quickly. That's a nade over top. Jig Jester makes it out just in time, only takes 10 damage from it. RC over top, finds the timing as well. Chris's head is right in his crosshair, and the money on DePaul is broken. You could see, at most, you're looking at $4,500, and that's on Chris, and that's because Chris saved a lot of his cash in that. A P250 is all you really brought in. They are going to have a buy. I'll give them that. They will have AKs across the board. A demigod should have AK armor and nothing more. But that's not what you want to have in a round against the University of Colorado, who has money, armor, utility, and kits for everybody. They're looking strong here in the final round of the half.
Sure, I won't fault DePaul for the strategy in that last round. I mean, to their credit, they came pretty close to walking away with a victory in that round. There was just, there's a lot of trades, a lot of chaos, and ultimately the kills just fell in the favor of Colorado, which, obviously feeling pretty good. Oh, Jay Jester just gets a little bit of a haircut there and returns it, and now Chris down to almost half health, or just below half health, rather, is going to start the round off from a slightly less comfortable position. But DePaul, still not in a terrible position overall, depending on where they decide to go. Ooh, the timing. Are they going to know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gets a double. Aratoshi and Jig Jester both dropped, and DB Cozy is dropped as well. Breezy up onto 17 kills in this half. Op in the back line needs to get something. Fancy Lad in a decent position, but is now smoked off. This may be a DePaul, and they boost up over top. No way you expect this. They'll have a flank ready, or just vertical angles prepped and ready to go. RC, though, with one frag, needs to swing high, and then swing low, and then swing low again. It's just not going to happen. Fancy Lad, though, in a 1 versus 3, not going to get it. Cleared by Chris on that top side. And it was a perfect play in from DePaul. They gained control the way they needed to, but going into the second half of play, it's a very, very staunch difference between the squads. University of Colorado with half the round, or with twice the amount of rounds, as you can see on the DePaul side, and look at the kills. DePaul have one player in double digits. University of Colorado have one player in single digits. That's how different these two squads are.
Yeah, that's kind of what we saw when I'm just going to keep going back to Colorado's performance last week against Marist, because it was such a great example of how teams that are seemingly impermeable can just, run into some issues. And in that case, they had RC just at an insane amount of kills carrying everybody. And right now that's breezy for DePaul. And unfortunately, it's just not been enough to convert into a significant number of round wins. That being said, DePaul was able to bookend the first half with a positive, and ultimately try to carry that over. But Colorado feeling very confident in their split push onto the A site here.
Colorado did the exact same thing last week against Marist, by the way, in this pistol round, and oh my goodness, it's working just as well as it did last time. They just hold W onto the site. A demigod does get one, but will soonly fall, and this is going to hurt. It's going to be painful for DePaul, as RC's just locking on this angle. You don't clear that, and there's no reason to do so, well, unless there's somebody there. Breezy in a 1 versus 3 with 15 health. A well-placed sneeze will remove his life. Breezy with a well-placed shot, though, onto RC's head. It's not going to matter. Jig Jester will get the final kill required. And the University of Colorado take the pistol and are going to take this map surely after that. They're just going to walk away with it, right?
It's certainly possible. DePaul certainly has had quite a few individual moments of brilliance that comes sometimes at very opportune times. Obviously, you can see here they're going for the very aggressive fountain push, which is either going to net them a lot of damage and a great win, or it's going to be over very quickly. So right now, opting for the latter, where Eritoshi and RC able to pick up two pretty easy kills. DePaul retreats back a little bit, trying to find some refuse, but there will be none.
Yeah, that's very much it. RC with 3 frags, Fancy Lad and Aratoshi with the final 2. The University of Colorado with a clean round 2.5, and they're going to be able to build off of this. You can see an MP7 on Jig Jester, DB Cozy with a Galil. Those are the only concessions they're taking. Actually, I lied. Aratoshi also has a Galil, but still looking good, and Jig Jester doesn't care. He still buys up that AK. This is looking strong. I have to say, what are we going to see different from DePaul? They won the bonus round last time around. That's the most important part, and that was an awful Molotov, one that missed entirely. I think somebody held down the wrong mouse key, but they just push in anyway. In comes the push. RC with 1. Jig Jester with 1 as well, but Chris trying to bring 2 back, cannot do it. It's Jig Jester with a double, and the 3-for-1 trade on the B site almost certainly gives the University of Colorado the round. I don't even think that Paul's going to even try and retake this, much less successfully do it.
Yeah, that's definitely the smart play. And to the point about, or to your question about what can DePaul do, I think one of the main elements is they have to just be prepared for the fact that Colorado is going to continue to be very aggressive. And that's, one of the cornerstones of their approach usually is, they're going to be very aggressive. They're going to try to bully you into a position where you don't ever really feel comfortable. And so if they can continue to do that, that's ultimately how you're going to see the last couple of rounds slip away. However, if they're able to contend with that and force Colorado to slow down a little bit, which obviously, you can do with counter utility, or you can play retake, there are different ways that they can ultimately find some of those weaknesses to exploit and try to claw back some of these rounds. It was smart for Squaw and Breezy to ultimately save those weapons and try to build something into it, because now they can buy up some deagles and try to do some damage. But with only 3 rounds between Colorado and victory, their time is running out to really find an answer for what Colorado's brought to the table so far.
Colorado holding W as per is their tradition, and it looks like they're going to hold Mouse 1 in correct fashion as well. A Demigod drops early, does a decent bit of damage onto RC, but I think that's just inconsequential in the end. Here's the swing onto Squaw, who will fall just as quickly. It's another buy where DePaul could have done something here, but I don't think they're going to get much off. Breezy does get 1 frag, but I think it's Breezy, the only one that really is getting frags. At least twice as many kills as anybody on his team. This is not a great showing from the rest of DePaul, because we hyped this up as the possible Goliath, and they're taking on David here. I don't think David's got his sling shooter this time around.
It feels that way, but we've definitely seen it in a lot of cases, and even today, really, where there's just, like a kind of an odd start to one map, and then they come back and there's a much stronger, more consistent play from there. So, I wouldn't write them off by any means. They're
No. That's
That
gotta hurt.
timing. Uh-oh.
No way. Bad timing. Doubled over. Fancy Lad gets a kill. Chris pushing up with a P250 though can take out Fancy Lad with just one shot. That's exactly what's going to happen, but they're breaking onto the B site and they have control of it. RC drops the smoke and pushes in front of this. This will give a false sense of security to DePaul. Why the heck would anybody be in front of this? Why would they smoke it off? Well, the answer, to fool you. The question, does it work? RC is just waiting, and Aratoshi just domes Breezy. He's dead. Chris clears it and gets the kill as well. Aratoshi's now in a 1 versus 1. Chris can pull this one off. Molotov will be dropped, but Chris does not have a kit. Why do you drop a Molotov if you don't have a kit? A round will go Aratoshi, but you have to stick this. You have to get something out of this. Chris will do neither. University of Colorado 2 away from closing this one out. A smart play towards that bridge position. Unfortunately, at least for RC, it does not work. Fortunately enough, University of Colorado wins the round anyway. Aratoshi with a really clean final 2 frags. And DePaul, this is the round they have to win. They don't win this, they're broke, and they're facing match point, 10 of them to be specific. And that right there would be the nail in the proverbial coffin.
It's also worth noting that the first time that these teams the first time these two teams met in week 3, just the immediate shutdown from DePaul is exactly what they needed in this moment. They seem to have heard what you said about whether this is game point or not and are taking that to heart. So now immediately taking 3 people off the board. Cozy's going to be in connector while his teammate continues to sit outside of that monster area. This could be exactly what DePaul was looking for.
BB Cozy trying to create some space. That'll be a flashbang off towards the brackets position. That's a clean one you can use in your matchmaking games for all of you who like to play Overpass. I don't. It's a terrible map, but, you know, I digress.
It's your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun map to cast. I don't know about play. It just annoys me with rotations. I always catch, like, that gold Nova timing. It's very efficient. But University of Colorado need to play this one quickly, and they're very separated, and they don't have the bomb. I think that may just be the end of the round. Because he will clear this, though. Doesn't get the kill. Yif will, and will kill Jig Jester. DePaul University get 1 round, and, well, it's baby steps here for DePaul. 1 round at a time to start to claw this map back.
What I was going to say before, and it's now even closer to true, is that this is almost an exact opposite mirror to what we saw in their week 3 matchup, which was also Overpass and Inferno. So exact same matches in the same pick order. But in that case, DePaul won 16-7 on Overpass. So we're almost exactly the opposite situation as Aratoshi and RSD find their opening kills. Fancy Lad takes the 3rd. There's kills going around for everyone. And DePaul, after putting up such a great defense in the previous round, just folds like a house of cards.
University of Colorado really showing how well they can pick up after they make mistakes. And I think they watched that week 3 VOD about 17 times. If not more than that. You do not want to make mistakes at the top of these tables. The University of Colorado really has not been contested in a lot of these maps. You could see last week they played Marist and had some trouble in Inferno, but after they realized what the heck they were doing wrong, I know I was just producing it, I was chilling in the background, but after they figured out what they were doing wrong, they picked up on it and immediately shut it down. You do not see the University of Colorado make mistakes more than once, and if you do, it's one that they just don't realize they're making, and sometimes when you're playing these games and it's very fast-paced, you don't. But it is now map point. University of Colorado, 15 rounds on the board already. DePaul with a measly 6. Need to bring 9 in a row back, and that's only to force overtime.
Not impossible, but it is improbable. And Colorado's got to be feeling very comfortable in this position. They're going to be able to play a little bit looser and a little bit more freely. And they're going right back to that B bomb site after seeing a ton of success and being able to shut down any aggression from DePaul. They separate out Jig Jester. That could be, wow, that's an incredible start for DePaul, who has struggled on this site before. RC tries to bring it back. Chris able to equalize it once again. And now there's only Aratoshi left for Colorado.
Aratoshi would need a 4K clutch and isn't even going to get a 1K. It's going to be the round. DePaul, again, a round back the other way, but need to be able to build off of this. That's one way to do it with some economy in your favor. Breezy and company is going to be able to buy up fully, and they're going to have everything they could ever want, and sometimes even more, other than a demigod who does not buy a kit, even though, well, they have more than enough money to do so. If that bites them in the ass, I'm going to laugh. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But
Chris.
yeah, Chris is this time knifed in the back. Last time it was shot in the back of the head. I feel like this is just cyberbullying.
So much
What did Chris ever do to them?
It's a good question, but I feel like we might be about to see the pendulum swing back in
1
favor
HP.
of Colorado.
Chris has 1 HP after that nade. Oh my gosh.
I mean, at least he's got the op, so you know the flicks are going to be the savior. You only need 1 HP and a dream to make a difference, but you prefer to have more. Always better to have more.
Talk about having small margins of error. You even look in the wrong direction for a quarter of a second, you will fall. Squad does have the other op, though. Ooh, RC. Getting some information. Molotov should be dropped towards the default position. That will clear just about all the room on the site possible. Squaw still holding down long. Nobody's here, though. So, looking at absolutely nothing other than, well, some brick and grass. And, you know, of course, that light post that looks really cool in the back. Now, we'll finally see somebody and misses. All that build up for absolutely nothing. Unfortunately, it really costs them. 1-for-1 trade, though, on the B site. Now Breezy with another. This is a way for DePaul to bring things back. Squad, though, wide swinging, needs to hit something, hits Aratoshi's body, and will look to bring things back. Squad somehow stays alive even after missing that shot, and the nade over top does a decent bit of damage as well. Finally, DePaul locking down both sites at the same time, but as I say that, Fancy Lad will get 1 frag. It's down to the 2 versus 2 on this A site specifically, especially after that frag, but Jig Jester with 2 headshots may just shut them down. And they're looking to fall back. What are they doing? No, they don't have the bomb! It's in T-spawn. The bomb's in T-spawn. They lose the round because the bomb's in T-spawn. I'm done.
I don't really have words to describe that type of mistake. That is bad. That's the word. It's bad. You shouldn't do that. You got to remember to pick up the bomb, even if you don't want to carry it from the beginning. You got to make sure that somebody on your team is responsible for it. Otherwise, you end up in those situations. And now, what was a pretty sizable chance at a victory in that 2v1 is now back to what's basically a glorified eco.
Yeah, they will save over the double up on the T side, by the way. But it is a Galil and double Deagles. That's all that University of Colorado can write home about. And now that everybody's made their way back to their dorms, I feel like it's a good time to do so. Say hi to people you love, by the way. Because, you know, yay. But University of Colorado need to do something here. And mistakes like that don't come often, at least from the University of Colorado. And, well, Squaw will be shut down because I think that the Boulder side is not too happy that they're not performing up to par and is taking it out on DePaul.
Playing really great support strategy around the 2 ops that they have. Little playful jab. Chris able to take out Jig Jester in the M4 versus Deagle battle of the century. Fancy Lad going for that second op pick, getting up 2, answered by Yif, and these are just getting traded back and forth. And DePaul should not be giving up this many kills.
There's a flank. All Aratoshi needs to do is wait. There is a flank coming up from behind DB Cozy with that Deagle in hand. We'll take a look. You can see looking to prep up. The perfect timing for Breezy, but dies anyway. And now this should be the game. DB Cozy pushing from behind. No. He has no idea. A demigod will be shut down because of it. And it's a clean finish to a game where they almost lost it. But a win nonetheless, and the University of Colorado will take Overpass in glaring fashion.
An excellent reversal from that week 3 result that we just talked about. Colorado showing quite decisively that they are prepared for what DePaul had originally served to them. And I've got a few feeling really confident going into their own map pick. So I'm personally excited to see Inferno again. Colorado obviously looking to show that they've learned a couple things from last week against their matchup from DePaul. But I also wonder if DePaul watched that VOD enough to understand that maybe there's some opportunities to exploit some of the weaknesses that Colorado saw against that weaker team last week.
Yeah, Marist were able to pick up some rounds last week. We'll see if DePaul did some VOD reviews. They had 7 days to do it. We'll see if they can benefit off of the information that Face It so dearly provides. But we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, it's Inferno. It is our final map of this best of 2. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss it. Told you it'd be a quick break, and we're back underway. It is our final map of this series, but don't forget, we still have 2 more after this, so even if this one ends, don't go anywhere. Nonetheless, it is still DePaul. It is still the University of Colorado at Boulder, and I am still Time to Light, joined by Viking over there. Map 1 was a little bit of a disappointment from DePaul. They picked out Overpass, yet didn't perform all that well in it, albeit Colorado does really only pick Overpass and Mirage. So, analyzing that, how do you see it?
Well, I think it was just sort of an unfortunate scenario for DePaul to end up in, right? Because, their other better maps are, like Mirage, which ultimately wasn't picked this time. They've been pretty consistent in others as well. But they probably looked at Overpass and said, we've historically done pretty well here, but so does Colorado. So what are you going to do? And immediately coming into Inferno on their map pick, Colorado is opting to just rush through arches and wrap around to A's site, leaving one player in just to check. And now they're just going full for it. And because of the way that DePaul was positioned, nobody manages to find anybody. And now DePaul is forced to play retake immediately.
They rolled the dice, even though the dice are over on Overpass, and they gambled incorrectly. The push is coming through back the other way, up through lane. It's just not going to work, though. They're pushing to 5 different players. It's a 3 versus 5 coming in. Now down to a 2 versus 4. They're still down 2 players, now down 3. A demigod, just left alone with 93 health, will be headshot by a burst fire from Aratoshi. Insult to injury, to say the least, as the University of Colorado will take round number 1. They will take the pistol and take control here on their own map pick.
Great start to it. Exactly what they want to see. Nice to kind of see that type of aggression. I like that speed and violence of just wrapping around. And, when that works out, it works out if you don't have somebody to ultimately stand up to it. And DePaul, again, just kind of forced to deal with what Colorado wanted them to. And they're already coming back into it. We see a good amount of aggression up towards Banana, hindered a little bit by some of that utility. But they're still continuing to make that on there while DePaul is attempting to make that flank, but RC is there to protect them, feeling it coming from the underpass there. Chris able to take one out, but Colorado just calling it a day early and coming back with 4 players still alive on their side.
You were talking about the playstyle of the University of Colorado, and I think I could attribute it to that of a non-medical doctor, that of disrespect, speed, violence, and momentum. That's really what the University of Colorado is. For all of you who are wondering, I was just making a Dr. Disrespect meme. But I got a question. What can DePaul do to bring this back? They will have the anti-bonus round-ish kind of buy. I don't even know what you call these nowadays. But, well, Fancy Light takes a decent bit of damage. So it's at least a good start. And, well, Fancy Light's now dead. An even better start. And as I say that, now a demigod's dead. So a little bit of a caster's curse. Apologies to a demigod who will inevitably watch this VOD back. Because, yeah, now University of Colorado really have a little bit of control. It is going to be full rifles up against 2 SMGs and 2 rifles the other way, but you're going to see a lot of momentum needing to be built here for DePaul to really gain a lot here on the CT side of Inferno.
It is. They managed to slow it down a little bit. Important, give an opportunity for DePaul to kind of catch their breath because Colorado's been very, very good on that execution. Yif able to take RC out, who's been such an important player in the previous weeks, and now DePaul finding themselves up 4-2 in the body count and doing an excellent job of holding down the few sites or both sites.
It looks like University of Colorado don't know what they want to do here. And I can't really blame them for it. It is English is hard. Wowza. It is an English. No, I'm done. I can't.
You tried, and that's all anyone can ask. Chris able to take the Colorado team down to just Aratoshi. Aratoshi not quite feeling someone on the other side of the smoke is going to fall down to Yif. DePaul putting their first round up on the board is going to give them the opportunity to come back into round 4 and equalize it and make it 2-2. But Colorado feeling pretty confident overall, except a couple of hiccups in that last round early. May have different plans for this.
Now that I've gained a grasp on the only language I've ever known how to speak, I was trying to say that the University of Colorado would really be beneficial if they would just push, and well, that's exactly what they did right there. Fancy Lad with an opening frag onto Chris, punishing Chris for really shutting him down in the previous round. And it seems like the University of Colorado want to play off of themselves. You can see Aratoshi trying to gain some ground and really trying to gain that rifle that was dropped. I think it's going to happen unless it's been dropped further back. I think it may have been dropped further back, and that smoke's going to make the lives of the Colorado side just that much more difficult. But there's still a lot of map control over towards this B side, and the University of Colorado, if they were in the real estate game, they'd be winning every day of the week.
Not sensing that Breezy is going to be up on that boost spot. Breezy's able to take out Jay Jester, but immediately gets traded out by RC. So Colorado's going to get the call to go to a site. And we've got Squaw over there in the pit just holding on for dear life, hoping that reinforcements are going to get in time. Get there in time. He's going to get that first kill from Aratoshi. Almost gets the second, but falls. And now it's down to his teammates to pick up where he left off.
200 HP on the DePaul side, a total of 125 for the University of Colorado. Even with the man advantage, they don't have the health, and now they have even less. Fancy Lad, the only one on full HP, is now dead, but DB Cozy, playing the angle perfectly, now needs to back away from the Molotov. It will force him out of position, but he doesn't care. The headshot over top, a Demigod walks straight into the spray. And the University of Colorado, up onto 3 rounds, shutting down DePaul, trying to make that comeback after their anti-bonus win. Unsuccessful, to say the least. And now the University of Colorado making strides back the other way.
That kind of wild spray across the box on the end did not seem like it was going to connect on a headshot, but it did. So that's what matters in the end. All W's. Colorado able to continue to boost that that lead that they have, and we're looking like a very similar start to what we found on Overpass last time around. So DePaul desperately needs to get this round out of the way, do whatever damage they possibly can, and then find their footing to start clawing back rounds. Because once they get over to the T side, Colorado starts to get pretty scary.
Colorado already scary, to say the least, especially considering this is their map pick. I mean, they're flawless, barring one map loss, and that was to DePaul on the previous map we had. Oh, granted, it wasn't an hour ago, but it was back in week 3. A long time ago, apparently in a galaxy far, far away, especially with the showing they're showing here. Oh my goodness, knocking down everybody on this side. I do believe there was a team kill, but DePaul still making strides back the other way. It's down to Breezy in a 1 versus 3, trying something. It's not going to work. RC through the smoke, a clean spray from Aratoshi towards that B side, really solidifying it there for the University of Colorado. And I got a question now. DePaul, what's your best option here? You're going to have an up available. Chris is going to be wielding that one. Everybody else in a difficult position in terms of utility, really. They're going to have 2 kits at most. Not being able to build much off of their really lackluster economy they've been handed in this one.
I think the key to victory is early picks, and one of those early picks needs to be RC. They do a little bit of work there, taking Fancy Lad down to just 19 HP, which is a great start because it means they're going to have a little bit of that damage advantage. But they haven't quite made that, and of course, because they let RC go, he's able to get 2 headshots, taking out both Breezy and Yif. So that's the MVP for DePaul, already down just a little over 30 seconds into the round.
Ooh, Squaw, though, in a good position, gets one, but that's all he will receive. Well-placed smoke over top will deny any quick rotation in. And DePaul, I think that's the save already. It is Jame time here on Inferno. They need to run away, and they need to make sure they save everything they can. A Demigod maybe try to do economic damage, but I think his best bet is just hold S or W as you turn back, because even with economic damage done, I don't think it's going to matter all that much. You can see 4 players alive right now. Fancy Lad will stay alive with $5,400 plus the win bonus. And DePaul, they need to find a way to claw back into this one. It needs to be proactivity on the defensive side because they just have not gotten aggressive towards Banana. They haven't gotten aggressive towards mid nor apartments. They've really just been collapsed on every time here on Inferno. And thus far, just hasn't worked.
Good case study for that is the fact that they were able to take Fancy Lad down to less than 20 HP in the opening seconds of that round. But Fancy Lad still survived that with plenty of HP to spare. So the fact that they're not quite closing out the initial damage that they're doing is something they have to fix, and they have to fix that very soon before Colorado puts too many more rounds on the board. And part of that's going to be the utility, part of it's just the slightly more aggressive peaking or something like that, or just being aware of the fact that Colorado is going to do something like jump up on a wood pile and make it really uncomfortable to look down B. And now Colorado kind of flipping the table, taking out Chris and doing a lot of damage to a demigod who goes down, and now that B site is completely open for Colorado to do as they please with.
Fancy Lad barely stays alive, catches a timing and makes sure he stays up in this one. It is a 4 versus 2. And the trigger here is Squaw, stay alive, keep that AK in hand. But, well, Breezy will fall already. I was about to say Breezy try and go get a kill, but it didn't happen. AK left over for Squaw. It's another round of saving for DePaul. Unable to really put anything together here on Inferno. And I'm no mathematician here, but Viking, could you tell our lovely viewers here what happens if DePaul continue to decide to save weapons they've been given and not try and push for round wins?
Well, let's see. It's a complicated question, but I think that the answer is more L's. And as far as I'm aware, more L's means a lack of more W's, and W's is what you need. This is scary for Squaw. Luckily, Colorado seems to sort of be ignoring. Oh, a gift for Squaw to Jig Jester is going to take one of those AKs down, but that doesn't really matter because Aratoshi's sitting on more than 10k. With the buy already coming through. So no money problems on that front at all. But maybe, just a little treat for DePaul.
You were talking about W's and L's. When did algebra switch away from X and Y? I know math's been difficult recently, but you can't make it even more challenging for me.
The X's and the Y's.
Yeah.
One of them is good, one of them is bad here, depending on which perspective you're playing from. But in this case, losing half of your health to the opening seconds of the round is not how DePaul is going to find themselves coming back into this side of the map.
I was talking about productivity. I think that's what we're seeing here for the first time in a long time. Chris was boosted up, now backs away already on 32 health though, and they're just pushing off of this. Chris doesn't get blinded by that flash and will get a free kill because of it. RC will fall, and that's an opener and a second as well. Finally, DePaul playing proactive, as I mentioned. Well, look at that. They get kills. Magic, how that happens. Sometimes when you take the fight to your opponents, you win them.
We see one of those opening kills is RC, who has been one of those critical components, those pillars of the community for Colorado. And Breezy, the answer on the DePaul side, takes out 2 so far this round, picks up his 3rd in Cozy. And now, again, for the 3rd or maybe 4th time it's just Aratoshi left to do things for Colorado. He takes out Chris as a consolation prize, but Yif able to close that out, and DePaul able to find their 2nd round. So whether this is the beginning of something great or just a blip in the road for Colorado on their path to victory is yet to be seen.
Well, only time will tell, and not me, unfortunately. I am not a fortune teller. But I'd like to see them be able to build off of this. I would love to see them do something here. Albeit, it's going to take a decent bit of effort. That's a nice nade over top. Fancy Lad already down to 39 health. Not a great start to the round if you're Colorado. But they're just pushing in. Oh my goodness, RC just holds W through a Molotov. He doesn't care. He finds one. Will be shut down just as quickly. Squaw punishing him for his transgressions onto the teammate. But Yif getting Aratoshi elsewhere. That's the way back into this here for the University of DePaul. Now, DePaul, I think they're looking a little bit better when they have the man advantage, but unfortunately, seeing as your scoreline shows, they haven't had that man advantage all that much.
It's true. And I think that one of the key components that we talked about before is being able to close out those kills. And ironically, once again, it's Fancy Lad who took a lot of nade damage earlier, so far still alive, and he's on that op, so he still has a lot of damage potential. Chris able to take out Cozy as DePaul considers that execution onto the B-bomb site, but because they're caught up in that elbow position outside of the site, they don't seem particularly sure as to whether or not they really want to commit to this. But going in their favor, DePaul's not really sure what to make of it either, but since they've got 2 people on site, they can afford to take the gamble.
be a good Molotov. That'll go towards second oranges. They'll land properly as well. Chris may die to it. No, down to 1 HP again. Chris has to be the luckiest player, but will fall anyway. It's down to Jig Jester. 1 versus 3. Will get the first frag. Has the bomb on his back as well. Looking to plant it. Does he fake it? He does. Waiting for the push. No! Breezy waiting perfectly. Pushes this time. Should get the frag. Does just that. Well drilled from Breezy on the backside. Calls out the fake. And DePaul with a third on the board.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought for a second that it was gonna go the other direction. It 100% believed that Jay Jester was gonna be able to just pull that out after that initial frag. Beautiful, beautiful play by Breezy there to expect the fake, to sit patiently in that smoke and wait for the real plant to come through. And this has forced Colorado onto an eco, just seeing 1 SMG and a couple upgraded pistols. That is an excellent place for DePaul to be as they try to continue building up as many rounds as they can in this half.
Finally, DePaul looking to build... What is that? Somebody go check his PC. No way. No way you just... Oh, I'm just going to spray really quick. See how that goes. Spoiler alert. It went relatively well. Breezy flashing his teammate in, but it's just the cubby play coming through for a demigod who's in a good position. Do they clear this? I don't think they will. With pistols, I don't think they do. They do! No, he does die. It is the 2-for-2 trade. They look to break out onto the A site, but no. Are they splitting B? They clear out library, and in comes the push. Squaw will get 1 frag, still predicting somebody's towards the apartments. Nobody is, and well, he reads it. RC will fall to a headshot as well. Aratoshi, in a 1 versus 3, needing to find 3 separate people on 3 separate angles. The push, he doesn't even find one. He should fall here. He actually does find one. Yef dies through the wall, but Chris turns it right back. And DePaul up onto 4, here on Inferno, of all places. Not even their map pick, yet they're still looking strong.
DePaul is doing a pretty good job of making, or sorry, Colorado is doing a good job of even making these rounds that are not going in their favor still expensive for DePaul, especially on the CT side where every dollar is that much more important. And DePaul feeling themselves going to get a little over aggressive, and a demigod is immediately going to fall to a double nade and an AK RC, feeling the rage from having lost a couple of them in the past, going to answer that. And now that aggression in banana might spell disaster as Chris does his best to stay alive but comes up quite short.
Toshi pushing in, gains some good ground, and well, I think that's it. That should be the B site fallen. That should be another save round here for DePaul. Their first save round in 4, so not an awful showing here for DePaul, finally bringing something back. I think this is a good showing. DePaul on the CT side, not in a great position, albeit they don't have the lead, but I think the University of Colorado always look a little bit better on their T side for the sole reason that they are allowed to bring the fight to their opponents, and they're never punished for it because that's what you do on the T side. On CT, they have their issues. We saw it a little bit on Overpass. It wasn't the greatest showing, but I mean, hey, CT side, it's been better. I think at this point, you're really looking for, if you're the University of Colorado, 8 or 9 rounds. Sometimes 10 if you're looking good. DePaul would like 6 or 7. I think that's their best hope to bring things back on the T side.
Yeah, I think that that's a pretty good expectation overall for what they've shown, at least in terms of their potential so far. Colorado has given them some openings, obviously, especially as we talked about. If they achieve those keys to victory, by which we've talked about getting some of those early rounds on the execution, making sure that RC grows in the ground as quickly as possible, gives them a pretty solid place to do that. And they have been doing that so far with a lot of that chip damage from grenades and banana, because Colorado just doesn't seem to really mind taking 50-ish damage from a nade if they can get that early aggression. And then obviously you've got folks like RC who we watch run through Molly to get his kills because I guess he was just feeling it. So, those are potential dangers, but also opportunities for DePaul. And if they continue to hold the speed to what they're comfortable with, that's how they're ultimately going to find victory here.
Chris looking to find victory with shots coming through. Oh! Chris almost stays alive, but will not. Yif does and gets a kill. Breezy trying to get aggressive will fall just as quickly. There is a flank, though. Cozy not aware of it. He will fall. Well played from Squab, being proactive. I love using that word, mainly because Ocean used it yesterday on Overwatch. Proactivity coming through from DePaul, and it's really been the name of the game for Colorado thus far, but DePaul taking a page out of the playbook and using it properly. That's what we love to see, adaptation in Counter-Strike. Another one of those name of the game situations, but it's a 1 versus 3. Fancy Lad trying to get aggressive here, needs to gain some ground and really needs to get a frag here onto EF. Plays aggressive swings, but won't get the frag. DePaul up onto 5, looking even better here on Inferno. A 5th round, really the turning point, I think, if you're looking at a good versus kinda good versus halfway decent half.
And every victory that they've had, you can kind of point to one of those pivot moments, whether that's the nade damage down Banana, or in that case, it was the combined peak onto Card to ultimately get those frags and refrags that have done such a great job of removing, those critical players on the side of Colorado and forcing them to rethink how their strategy is going to play out. And just because of the pieces that they've been able to take out in those types of, we'll say, defensive aggressions, has worked out so far. And so, like we were talking about, DePaul is in a great position to get their 6th and hopefully 7th round before they switch. And then Colorado being forced to kind of follow the pace of whatever DePaul decides to throw at them on the T side. Might be easier, might be a lot harder. It's a great position to be in if you're DePaul coming from behind.
One position that University of Colorado has is every position. They're already up brackets. They're already up B, and the flashbang over top. Oh my goodness, EF can't see a dang thing. Do they clear oranges? Not this time, but the swing will come through. Fancy Lad gets that 1-for-1 trade, but is shut down just as quickly. Breezy with a double from the side. You'd expect nothing less. Showing up on Overpass and now showing up even better on Inferno, and most importantly, when they're needed most, but it's a fake, kinda. If that worked, they would have grabbed the bomb and went B, but it didn't, and they're going A. Gaining control is DB Cozy. It will be that 40-second timer on the bomb, as it will be planted in a good position, but no, DB Cozy is shut down. It's down to a 1 versus 3. Aratoshi needs to get these frags, is being swung on from behind, knows about it, but I don't think it's going to matter. Aratoshi gets 1, that's all it's going to matter. The second frag already gotten, but a demigod in a perfect position will give DePaul 6 here in the CT side.
I swear Colorado refuses to give any opportunity for anybody to breathe, and they did an excellent job there ensuring that Aratoshi was positioned to do as much damage as possible, and forcing it down to the last person is pretty wild. So huge ups to DePaul for seeing that through to the very bitter end. They've secured that 6th round. Now they're going to have to deal with the aggression from Colorado, and RC just feeling it. You can tell when this kid gets mad because he just runs for it and starts punishing people. We see that early aggression come out, take out Chris. EF is the second to go down. This team is unstoppable when they put down that plow.
For all of you people who are not familiar with government, the 8th Amendment to the Constitution reads that there shall be no cruel and or unusual punishment bestowed upon those who commit crimes. DePaul committed the crime of killing University of Colorado, all 5 of them to be specific, and the University of Colorado figured, oh, we'll just hold W. Cruel and unusual, I think, at least in my book.
Certainly can work out that way. A demigod being the only one left is desperately trying to hide, and Colorado really feeling themselves have spread out to start hunting, and they seem to have an inkling of the possibility that a demigod is hiding in T, although they haven't gone that way. Oh no, he's given away his position with that frag, so he's got to deal with 4 people. RC being the one to ultimately end the life of Aratoshi, of a demigod, is gonna make that just a fine point on the end of that round.
Comes down to whether DePaul can pick it back. The University of Colorado up onto 8, and they will get the half win yet again. Now, it's can they extend that? There will be AKs across the board, M4s for those who prefer them, those being Fancy Lad and Jig Jester. And again, it's a round where they just hold W up B, gain some good control. Oh my goodness, what is that? Fancy Lad, a headshot and a wallbang straight onto a demigod. You shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Colorado, man, you never know. The same can be true of DePaul, but you just put these players in a position to pull that trigger, and they do the rest. Fancy Lad, Aratoshi, RC, consistent names that we've seen across the board, and you can see that just based on where they sit in their respective rankings. RC once again in the lead at 20, followed by Eratoshi and Fancy Lad rounds out their top 3, and they are just so far ahead when it comes to most of those stats, which is really saying something because despite the differences in frags, DePaul is still hanging in there at 6 rounds to Colorado's 9. So it's I'm very curious to see what DePaul is going to bring out of their potential bag of strategies, and whether they're going to be as aggressive as Colorado is, or if they're going to choose to play a completely different game.
I think the game needs to be aggression, and oh my goodness, they are going to pull it off. It looks like DePaul are trying to just hold W up, but straight into DP Cozy. There's 2, there's 3, there's 4 headshots, all with the USP, all lining them up, knocking every single one down. The University of Colorado up onto 10 rounds, and off the back of 4 frags from DB Cozy.
I don't have words. I mean, that was like watching Happy pull the Deagles out from porch all the way back when, except this time he's doing it with the USP. And if you're DePaul, that's devastating. I mean, you don't expect to just run into a meat grinder that's a USP.
Painful to say the least, as well. I think that's just spelling doom here for DePaul. Oh my goodness, he missed an entire clip. Fancy Lad, that's what this got hurt, but it's $600 there for Jig Jester, who, well, we'll just shoot him down, and we can even see the point of view. It is a round again for the University of Colorado. Now it's a bye the other way for DePaul University. It will be full rifles minus Jig Jester on that MP9. On the other side, DePaul with full rifles just the same. They need this round win. If they don't, I don't think they have a chance in this map.
Not a bad opening salvo. Most importantly, they didn't fall to the op that's sitting at the top of mid looking for those kills. RC being a little over aggressive with that FAMAS is taking down to 6 HP. Seeing the pincer move from DePaul is going to give them an opportunity on that site, knowing that RC has to be low, but they're going to retreat back into site and try to turtle and hope that they can hold off until their teammates come in. Unfortunately, Breezy had to go all the way back for the bomb, so the timing is going to be off, and now there are 3 players on the A side that they basically had in hand, and now they might want to consider the idea of going back the other direction.
Best case scenario here is DePaul get a bomb plant. This is not going to work out for them. RC with 2, Fancy Lad with 2 of his own, even with that no scope. The 4 versus 5 turned 4 versus 1. Chris in a 1 versus 4, though, will get 2. Economic damage done, but the up picked up. The M4 saved over from DB Cozy, and the University of Colorado up onto 12 rounds. DePaul are broken in terms of their economy. The University of Colorado, anything but. They will have yet another full buy. They have doubled the round count of DePaul, and I think are going to run away with this Inferno map because of it.
I was really hoping to see DePaul, once they got caught up, realize that it was a bad idea, because there was no way that Colorado wasn't aware of just how many people there. Breezy, feeling that a little bit, is able to take out RC. That's the 2 top fraggers going at it, and one of them coming out on top of Fancy Lad, able to answer back with YIF. But unfortunately, DePaul is on pistols, because last round they just, they full sent it and ran into 3 very, very pissed off Colorado players.
Yeah, they walked straight into it, unfortunately, and it's now down to a 2 versus 3. One of them with a rifle, but, oh, actually, they decide to go back. What are we seeing here? There's that door flash. You throw it off the door, it pops over towards that lane position. Geometry, by the way, but it is just going to be a push over here towards the long spot. Eratoshi in a perfect position. Will get 1. Can he get the 2nd? Yes, he can. Chris will fall. The M4 is stripped away. Most importantly, the M4 is kept there for Colorado. 3 players stay alive. The 13th round up and on the cards. And DePaul, this is bad.
It's not great, that's for sure, but it's not unwinnable still. They have a few rounds to play with. They obviously are on a bye here. They have the opportunity to start clawing those back, but they have to be extremely careful to make sure that they're making the most out of every opportunity they can. Giving RC a free kill in mid is not the way to do that. He walks away without losing a single point of HP.
This is looking like a great start here for Colorado yet again. A single up setup, sometimes that's all you need, especially on Inferno. Really, you have long or banana. If you want to cover them both, go for it, but it doesn't look like Colorado really need to, especially with the setups they have been showing. RC playing aggressive. Oh, he sees him. He gets the kill as well, straight to the wall. RC will back away off of that and get a free frag yet again. More damage through the smoke. Why the heck not? You still have just one player in pit. You have this lockdown. It is DB Cozy trying to just wait and have them play. Oh, Eratoshi's found the bomb. That will be the round. 1 versus 4 yet again. A demigod shut down. The University of Colorado, 2 rounds away from shutting this out in replicable fashion. Back from Overpass.
That mid-round hesitation is just continuing to be the death of DePaul. We saw it a little bit 2 rounds ago, where they had 4 players up top mid. They hesitated because of the smokes, and then ultimately ran into all those crossfires. They're the same type of issue where they could have sent it to one particular place, and Fancy Lad able to take out Breezy. That's a huge loss for DePaul this late, and they already have somebody running down mid, but nobody's aware of it.
Oh no, they're not. 1 versus 1 though, or the 1-for-1 trade, down to a 3 versus 3 in the round, and oh, they're not going to clear balcony this time around. They think he's back in that pit, and well, they're incorrect, but luckily for them, their malfeasance won't cost them all that much. DB Cozy, the only one over on the B side, locking down towards Fountain, but DePaul looking to pick the correct site for, I think, the first time this half, really. They haven't been choosing correctly, and this time I don't think it's going to come back to bite them because, well, they finally come out on top of their gambles.
Paul has to execute here. They have no choice but to get this plant in this win, because if they don't, we go on to the point where all they can deal with is a tie. Cozy able to take the 1, Chris able luckily to trade them, so they're only going to see the cost of 1 and leave that in equal 2v2. But Colorado is dangerous from any position, and certainly that counts as a 2v2. A demigod peeks into Eratoshi, takes that out, but they're not really sure where Jake Jester is until they see, I think he just fired some, right? So they know where he is. Is he going to feel this out?
No.
No.
No, he won't.
Well, thank goodness for DePaul, am I right?
Yeah, counting their lucky stars on that one. I don't think that round was luck. I really think that was a strong round. Hey, they understand, let's get some frags over towards that A side, pressure it, realize that Colorado need to rotate somebody over. A site is much more difficult to hold down as one player rather than the B site because, well, there's only one entryway over on that B side. But they're going to play aggressive now. They took the candy away from the baby of Colorado, and now the baby is what's the word? Angry? I try to say hungry. What a... Okay.
Angry and hungry, I don't know. Jake Jester showing that they can continuously be quite dangerous, even with the auto shoddy, but DePaul luckily able to deal with that aggression, only losing 1 person, and continuing on to the A site, where they sniffed out and destroyed Eratoshi, which was the last bastion of defense on that site. So now Cozy with that M4 seems like he's positioning for exits, which is probably the best thing that he could do. And if you're on the side of DePaul, you want to avoid giving up any rifles that you can, and that means don't jump across mid if you don't have to. So Yif is going to lose his life. They're going to lose one of those guns, and they'll have a little bit of cash, but Colorado able to pick up the most expensive item on their menu, which is the AWP. And they're going to feel still a pretty good position going into the next round.
Some BM. I think he's just making sure that the player on site's dead. I think it's really just securing the round. You don't want to lose it to a possible last-second defuse from somebody resurrecting themselves on the A side. Nonetheless, DePaul will pick up round number 8, at least for themselves. Colorado, still with that 6-round lead, still 2 away, and only 2 away, notably, from taking Inferno in a, yet again, glaring fashion. It's got to be a quick finish for Colorado. I don't think they can lose a lot of these rounds and then have that team morale to keep themselves up, because they know that DePaul is the only team to take a map off of them. That's still got to be in the back of their minds. Hey, this is going to be one of our most challenging games of the semester, of this year, in all reality. They've already lost 1 game. They did remedy that back on Overpass, but can they replicate their Inferno win from all the way back in week 3?
They're doing their dangest, but they really, like you said, they have to they have to close that door as fast as they can because, as you mentioned, if you let people start to build up momentum, it becomes harder and harder to even just claw back a single round, and they still need 2 to win this. So DePaul, feeling themselves off of the success of the last round and just, how well they've ultimately been able to bring a lot of this to light, still has to work on, fixing some of those points that have cost them rounds in the past, and that starts with not giving away any free kills as they start to attack these different bomb sites.
A hero up is all they have, and oh no. Okay, that was the deagle. I thought it was the hero up. No, that's over on the B site for some unknown reason. They are locking down this A side, not very well. One would call it a master lock, as to how ineffective it is. Unfortunate, to say the least, here for Colorado. It will be a 9th round for DePaul, and they will save the op over. I think that's the most important part.
Oh no, don't. Thought we were about to see another, yeah, that would have been not so great. But instead, they get Artoshi. Fancy Lad will continue to try to save that op. But you see Breezy making his way over to the B site to try to see if they can figure out where he is. And it seems like the entire team is aware that there's probably someone here. And it seems like Fancy is going to be unable to hold on to this rifle. That is an important rifle to take away for DePaul if they want to continue this momentum. So that means going into this round, there will be rifle buys on the side of Colorado, but they will be absent that op.
This is not great. You really needed that up. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought that was a flash. I thought he was just gonna full weight himself, but no, he's perfectly fine. Nade will be prepped down the bottom of mid. That will hit for about 30 damage onto Breezy, an extra 13 onto Yif. That's a decent start to a round. That's something that Colorado can build off of, especially considering they do not have that op. They need damage because the M4 is notorious for doing 98 and 4. I literally have a Discord. I have a Discord channel named 98 and 4 on my friend's CSGO Discord. The M4 annoys me, to say the least.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's always, been a little bit different, but you make the best of it you can. Obviously, there's only so many guns you can buy on this game. Surprisingly, we're a minute into this, and basically nothing has happened. So both teams seem to have agreed, as Cozy flashes the fish in the fountain, that they're just going to chill a little bit, see what happens. Oof, that's a lot of damage onto that op. Suddenly, a demigod is a little less confident in his approach. But they're going for it anyways. Artoshi sitting in the middle.
Artoshi does not care. Just sitting in the middle. Will die off of an errant spray from Breezy. By the way, Breezy's crosshair was not on his face, but it doesn't matter. Squaw will get one as he pushes through, but the spray straight through. Squaw gets another. What is that? 2 smoke kills with headshots to boot. This is painful to say the least. Fancy Lad pushing around, waiting for that smoke to dissipate. Gets the angle as well. It's Squaw on 4 health. 3 health. No, 4 is the number he is. 3 health is all he has. I don't think it really matters either way. The Molotov forces him out, and the shot from the M4 will force him into the grave. Unfortunately, the graveyard is over on A, so it's a little bit of a carry for DePaul. And Colorado onto match point.
That's exactly the same problem that we've seen over and over again with DePaul getting into those positions to be aggressive, but not having the decisive action to push through the smoke or to call it off. And in that case, you saw a couple of them sort of filter through that smoke. And in a case where it should have been a very quick reflag and a lot more aggression, they lose people. And you see RC just spamming through the smoke, able to get another one before losing his own life. It just, those types of things have been the difference maker in this, as we've seen that, I think, probably 4 rounds now go decisively in favor of Colorado, just as a result of DePaul getting stuck in one position or another.
Colorado, 5 kills or a bomb defusal away, or, well, mix the 2, from winning things here on Inferno. I'm seeing and hearing people chatting in said chat. I hope nothing's dead. No, they will end the pause, and we're good to go. I want a prediction. Does DePaul bring it back, or does Colorado finish it in at least the next 6 rounds?
I mean, I'd certainly like to see another round from them. Whether or not that's going to happen is an entirely different question. I think that DePaul might be able to bring it back here, get one more round before Colorado is able to finish it out, or this is going to be a game that's over in the next 45 seconds.
DePaul need to play quick. They need to exploit the fact that Colorado are really split here. You have that 3-2 split, as per usual. Nade will go in. That does about 20 onto RC. That's a good and, well, halfway decent start at least. Nade goes in. Oh, no. Chris gets one. Fancy led. Of course, you know, Skip. Why the heck not, right? A demigod is going to push into it. Will not get shot. Ironically, Fancy led more efficient with no scopes rather than scoping in with that big green gun. Fancy led, though, gets another. And will finally get a kill using that scope feature. Aratoshi will fall. Does Fancy Led get another? No. It's down to just the pit player. It is only Jig Jester in the pit who will fall as well. DB Cozy is in a 1 versus 3. There's a clutch situation to either win the map or, well, give DePaul double digits.
Seems like he's thinking about it. I mean, there's a smoke down at Moto there, so he's probably more just looking for people being errantly aggressive on the side of DePaul, which at this point they really can't afford to give anything away. But he sees that there isn't much of an opening. He's still testing out that Moto. There's a lot of DePaul players running around the site, giving them an opportunity. Is able to take out 2 of them.
Ooh.
That
Close.
could have been disastrous.
That could have been the game. That wouldn't have been more disastrous. That would have been nuclear. It would have been done.
There are such things as nuclear disasters, sir.
True. True. Wow.
Anyways, that is 2 players down that should not have lost their lives just because of, I think, sort of a flippant approach to expecting that he was going to save when, in fact, that was not the case. Here we have Cozy already showing off his aggression, taking out 2 with Deagles, and Chris able to take out Jig Jester, but Colorado is up a person, and of course, if they win, it's going to be on an eco. They're doing extreme amounts of damage here, and now Squaw and Chris with rifles against an Aubin AK and a Deagle and fully threes. This is... how? Why? That... well, we talk about things going out with, you know, bang or whimper. I think we obviously saw how that worked out for DePaul, unfortunately. Unable to take advantage of the gun advantage and make that happen. And, you know, I guess to Colorado's credit, we've seen quite a few times that when they get, you know, a little bit of motivation from a previous round loss, they will take pistols and they will make it God's work to go out and punish the wicked.
Yeah, Colorado taking advantage of the fact that, well, they lost a round, and I felt like the theme there was they don't make mistakes twice, and they didn't. Most importantly, they just didn't lose multiple rounds in a row, other than a couple times in the first half, and I think once in the second. Even then, it was just economy that was really their issue, and after that, they still were able to win rounds without economy being in their favor. I'm not going to say it was our predicted outcome between our 2 maps, but we had to at least assume that Colorado would take it, because they're next to flawless throughout the entirety of the season. The only map they did lose, as we mentioned prior, is Overpass. That was to DePaul. That was in week 3. Since then, they haven't dropped a single map, and I think week 3 was back in, what, like September?
October. But yeah, it's been
Still.
a while.
It's been a while.
It has indeed.
Yeah, that's a finish that I can't say we were surprised about, but one that happens nonetheless. But we will still get an interview. We actually get a chance to talk about the woes / lack of woes from Colorado. We're not sure who we're going to get in here just yet, but when we come back, we've got an interview with somebody from Colorado. Do not go anywhere. You don't want to miss it.
Honestly, I'm playing a lot of CS these days. Yeah. It's all just like varying levels of dog shit, really. Maybe we're just better humans because we don't need the new things. We can just stick with one thing for photos.
RC is the person we are interviewing, if you haven't caught that one already, but we're still here, and we're still, well, really done with the best of two. I'm Time to Late down there. That's Viking, and speaking of RC, he's right over there. Congratulations to open things up, because two hard-fought games, one a little bit easier than the other, but difficult maps nonetheless, especially up against, really, DePaul, who we thought it was going to be a little bit more challenging.
I thought it was going to be a little more challenging as well, truthfully. I thought it was at least going to go to double digits score wise on both maps. A little bit excited though that it didn't. I had a long night last night, and I'm just excited for a relatively easy match, but it was still hard fought. Just the boys came through. We didn't make too many stupid mistakes, and we were just all shooting really well today.
Lots of studying, I'm sure. One question as we were doing some of the pre-match for this that came up was going back through your map picks and bans. The only two maps that you have ever picked in this league have been Overpass and Mirage. Looking at the bans for this particular map, when it came down to the end, Mirage was still on the table, but you opted for Inferno. Is that because you felt like you needed to prove something after your performance against Maris last week, or did you just decide it was time for a change of scenery?
Truthfully, we've just been scrimming and playing lots of Inferno recently. So, and we've just been doing really well on it. So, we've just been playing that more than Mirage.
That's fair. I mean, I would say there was a pretty stark contrast in the performance that we saw where last week, if it weren't for your individual performance, I think that it could have gone in the direction of Marist, which would have been probably the upset of the season. But obviously it didn't. So coming to this, I know obviously, Dan pointed out that it was something that was a little bit more one-sided that we were anticipating just because DePaul has been so strong. Coming into these series overall, there wasn't too much of a difference between that other than Inferno being a little bit closer. But were there any particular either weaknesses that you were trying to exploit on the side of DePaul or any sort of specialized strategies? Or was it more go out, play your game, and try to dictate the pace as we've seen you do so many times so far?
Yeah, it's just trying to get our defaults down and just try and get us together as a squad as much as possible. We picked up Fancy Lad not even 2 months ago, swapped out one of our other players because he wanted to focus more on school. So we're really playing with the 4 core players and then plus him, and he's been meshing in fantastically. The vast majority of our time and planning has just gone towards playing together and getting everything coherent. And then later in the season, we might go towards more anti-stratting and more focused strategies.
You've had that team cohesion through and through this season into the previous split as well, and I can even remember even back to EGFC 2, where you guys were really performing. I got a question heading into the rest of this season. You were talking about the lack of mistakes. Today, I really highlighted that. You guys made a mistake and then never made it again. If you did, you really just got angry and ran at them with pistols and won the round. How do you really work around your mistakes? Do you identify them in between rounds, or is it something that you call a timeout for?
I don't think we've called a single timeout in EGF. I think I might have spilled a drink on
One
my
last
keyboard at
week.
one point.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, you put against Marius, you had one timeout early in the game again on Inferno.
How do you remember that?
Right, that's really
It was yeah, well, it was the only time that I think I've ever seen you guys call a timeout for any reason whatsoever. So maybe that was when you spilled the drink, but I think we talked about it very briefly as just one of those things where you felt. I think the way you described it is the vibe wasn't quite what you wanted it to be, so you just sort of reset and did it. But I mean, clearly you guys are pretty adaptive, but as Dan was saying, I am also very interested to just kind of see how you're analyzing in real time and making those adjustments.
Honestly, I trust my players enough. We've been playing together as a squad for 6 months or so now, and I will point out things like, hey, you shouldn't play there. You should go do blank. Dead talk is handy as well. Just talking to them as the round's going out. We really never call tax. And we do demo reviews, or at least we attempt to, relatively often, just so when we do have a massive failure, we can identify our shortcomings and try to fix those in the future. But for the most part, it's all up to individual changes and just making sure that we're doing our default right, because our default is strong, and as long as we stick to that and don't do a bunch of dumb BS, then we win matches. So
Now, we could see your default consisted of a lot of Fancy Lad hopping on top of logs and shooting somebody over top of the half wall and B-long.
yeah,
That's
genius.
really what it came down to. He's absolutely insane. We talked to him last week, or, well, he and Artie did. I was stuck in the background. They finally pulled me out of the production hole, by the way. But final question, as we do this for just about everybody. Do you have anybody you want to shout out? I know we asked Fancy Lad last week. Do you have anybody you want to shout out? Family, friends, your team themselves? Floor is yours.
Just the team. This past week has been a scheduling nightmare. We had an entire best of 3 last night that lasted until like 11:30 or something stupid. We played almost 90 rounds last night. It was upsetting. And then we have another match actually here in half an hour. So I just thank you boys for showing up and staying strong throughout.
Congratulations on your win, and good luck in your ESCA match. I actually may tune that up on my other screen, but nonetheless, congratulations, and that is at least going to do it for our third match of the night, but we are not done. Iona and Niagara, who, by the way, are trying to figure out how the heck they can put together their first map of the season right after this break. Don't go anywhere.